Hey guys, welcome back to Pillbox Movies. I'm Hank, and the last time we did this, it was during a snowy day in the winter, early in the morning. So, I don't know, I figure let's do another series of shorts. Today's series of shorts will be featuring two shorter films by some well-known female filmmakers, and then another one that was recently recommended to me by a viewer, and that one I have no idea where it's from. So why don't we start with the first one? The first one's a short by Celine Sciamma in 2018. It's called La Coupe Tapine. It's about a women's football club in France and their journey to win the Bernard Tapie Cup. So yeah, women's football, women's soccer. It sounds gay as shit. It sounds like something that Celine Sciamma would be interested in. So let's check it out. And before we begin, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe for more old, obscure, and art house short films. This is also available to watch on Facebook video, if you still have Facebook. Recurring idea in Celine Sciamma's films of female friendship, female relationships, and interpersonal cooperation. Just channeling that Rush as a fan. Even more so than the world of lesbian intimacy and intrigue. The world of European soccer/football is even more elusive to me. That's nice, her kind of like, yeah, her bringing in that sense of intimacy even to a short documentary. Oh no, I'm gonna get struck for the music, aren't I? That was an interesting cut. Maybe she just didn't have enough footage. Oh, did they win? That's awesome. Good for them. I wasn't expecting that. That makes sense, though, given the title. Well, there you go. That was La Coupe Bernard Tapie, your femme narrative feature director versus your butch documentarian, I guess. We don't really get to see that this side of Celine Sciamma that much. I think in her fictional features, she tends to present the more, well, I don't really know enough about these kind of subgroups to say something meaningful about it, but the more femme aspects of her personality, the more kind of soft, delicate, introspective, furtive aspects of female relationships, and we get a rare glimpse in this documentary to her more butch interests, her more masculine interests, I guess. I'm afraid of saying too much to kind of overstep into territory which is not mine, so I'll refrain at this point. But yeah, an interesting little slice into the head of Celine Sciamma. Sports. I can be weird too about sports. I could talk to you about sumo. Let's talk about sumo. Let's talk about Terunofuji and Takakeisho. I love Takakeisho. Come on, let's bring Takakeisho up to Yokozuna. He needs to get some wins under his belt. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm trying to find the next one. Okay, the next is going to be the narrative short debut, I believe, of also French female director Julia Ducournau. We're going to be watching Junior. I believe this is available to watch on YouTube. I think Ducournau made this while in film school, and it's the beginning of her collaboration with actress Garance Maillet. Garance Marie. And also in a fun fashion of comparison. Well, let's start the movie first. I guess it's like a workshop for Kens. Like a developmental workshop or director's workshop. So like an interesting point of comparison between Julia Ducournau and Celine Sciamma that you wouldn't kind of expect is they kind of use like what I might... Oh, it's already really interesting titling. I wasn't expecting that. They both kind of use a kind of what I would imagine as like a repertoire or a stock of characters. Ducournau hasn't really done enough features to really solidify this, but it seems like there is a... She reading Calvin and Hobbes now? What is that? But she seems to recycle the same kind of characters or character archetypes put into different circumstances. Wow, Garance Marie looks really young in this. Really, really young. Wow. But you see this in her archetypal character of Justine in Raw is featured here too, and is also featured in Titan, and Justine also has a sister named the same character with the same name as the character in Titan. And similarly, Sciamma seems to work with a main character whose name usually tends to be something like Marie. Who lusts after a tall, slim girl, usually.
T'as pris ton petit-déj?
Non, j'ai pas faim.
Ah, ça.
And we're kind of already seeing an archetype forming or a repeated motif forming in La Maîtresse. Oh, is that the Barbet Schroeder film? But a repeated motif in Ducournau's work of of anxiety manifesting in bodily symptoms.
Oh, c'est bon là.
Especially with Raw and from what I'm seeing of Junior, Ducournau's protagonist reminds me so much in so many ways of my sister. So I feel a lot of familiarity with the kind of characters that she's drawing in some respects. Similar kind of...
Ferry.
Présente.
Au tableau. Et enlevez-moi cette espèce de parachute qui vous sert de manteau, s'il vous plaît.
J'ai froid, monsieur.
Non, vous n'avez pas froid, là, ça l'est chauffé.
Tomboy characters who experiencing like a growth spurt or a kind of time of change.
Arrête de rigoler, toi.
And to kind of manifest anxiety or nervousness through a lot of kind of physical habits or physical manifestations. Interesting spotlighting. This is kind of really this kind of lighting technique of giving kind of emotional lighting of the blackboard against her is something that will kind of start to develop in Raw and really heighten in Titan. She loves incredibly like emotional or expressive lighting.
Faire ta meuf alors si tu veux pas que ça parle de toi avec ton soutif là plein de ketchup, espèce de crasseuse. Franchement, t'as envie de te la faire, elle.
Bah ouais, faut bien que mon zob atterrisse quelque part des fois.
Man, Garance Marie is so young. This is 5 years before Raw. It's crazy that they retained this relationship for this long.
Ton zob. Mais tu sors d'où ton zob, mon gars? Je sais pas, c'est mon père qui dit comme ça.
Ton père, il parle souvent de sa bite.
Oh, rigole pas de mon père, toi. De toute façon, t'en verras jamais de zob.
Fiston, viens là. Faut que je te parle de mon zob.
it's really, really fun to see like the adolescent or infantile version of this kind of characterization, because we see much more kind of grown up and kind of internalized and very, very like sophisticated and more suggestive characterizations as we grow into Ra and into Titan, characters that are less obvious with what their kind of internal struggle is or what they're kind of grappling against. But in a movie like this, in Junior, those kind of internal struggles are made like really, really abundantly clear, like obvious through the lens of childhood. Yes, this is the relationship that's focused on in Raw as well. The kind of the envious older sister, or the envied older sister, the kind of representative of femininity or of integration. It really is my sister. I used to play wrestling with my sister when we were much, much younger. It's so funny. I identify so much with her Garance archetype. With her Justine.
Je suis désolée.
Or not just not like identify with, but like I could see like a person in my life in this Justine character so vividly. Like my sister also kind of experienced this kind of culture shock, this social shock, and sexual awakening. I don't know, let's not go in too far into that on a public video. In college, and she was kind of really reserved growing up and had friends and stuff, but was kind of landlocked to her house. And so these habits that Justine develops in Raw, not necessarily the cannibalism, but habits like scratching herself, habits like her trichophobia, or not trichophobia, but her Cinderella, her Rapunzel syndrome of like eating her own hair. Those to me seem like really obvious manifestations of kind of stress and anxiety and exposure to new social conditions. My sister has like alopecia or whatever it is that like when you scratch your skin too much and it develops bumps and stuff, and it gets so much worse whenever she kind of has to interact under stressful circumstances. And like Celine Sciamma, there's kind of this underlying tension between these young female protagonists and their parents. Progressively, Ducournau has drawn that into that relationship lens towards the father archetype more, but we kind of see this here with the mom. And we get the horror aspect and the body horror aspect. The contortioning of this young character. To this day, my sister still wears her childhood glasses like this. I know why she has it. She's been eating parts of her body.
Non, pas du tout.
Well, Ducournau does have a nicer house than what I grew up in. Now I'm feeling class envy for a woman I don't know.
Maman.
Yeah, this stuff is so indicative of stuff I've seen with my sister. It's really fun. It feels familiar. It feels like watching a movie about somebody I know and love. Yeah, see what I mean with that expressive lighting? Like highlights, like spotlights that shouldn't exist, suddenly coming into being. And we've definitely got the integration of the horror with the kind of subtly sexual. This kind of disease or malady is developing at the moment of crisis between her and her sexualized older sister or her sexualized rival. And done in the presence of her masculine best friend, for whom she may have like unexpressed feelings.
Il se passe des trucs chelous.
Genre quoi?
Bah, des trucs chelous.
Merde.
I like the kind of highlighting of their feet, bringing them to the foreground, almost like
Tu me trouves bizarre comme fille.
like a
Voyons qui t'a mis ça dans la tête.
sexual
T'es
barometer.
belle, drôle, intelligente. T'es unique. Tu ressembles à personne.
It's a recurring.
Très.
It's a simple idea, but an evocative idea used reoccurringly in Julia Ducournau's work, that the mind may lie, but the body tells the truth. Think of that. Think of that when you watch a Julia Ducournau film. Or, you know, when you're working through some shit in your own life. God, those are some ugly teeth. Jesus. This is me not being able to quite view Garance Marillier as a sex symbol. And she's like wet her bed. I can't say for sure if it's Ducournau's intention to sexualize this experience, but or if that's her highest priority, but it is kind of like a melding of an experience of all these things happening at once. The body as a locus for horror, for sex, for sickness, for recuperation. All these kind of processes are happening simultaneously. Like, I don't even really consider these movies horror movies. I mean, they are, but what I feel like I'm experiencing when I'm watching them is a body in recovery, a body revealing itself, and what the pain feels like of being kind of that time in which your mind is out of sync with your body until you can fully readapt your mind to catch up to your body, what your body is telling you.
Désolée, j'étais chez le CPE.
Et vous êtes?
Bah, Justine. Ferry.
Ferry. Un instant, je vous avais pris pour une nouvelle vie qui commence. S'il vous plaît.
Ferme ta gueule aussi.
Yeah, she's coming out of her chrysalis. The moth has evolved. Oh, come on! This is ridiculous. She doesn't look that different.
Connasse. Bitch.
She's still like 4'9". I love how weird and awkward Garance Marillier is in Julia Ducournau's movies. Like, I get the desire to sexualize her, and she is an attractive young woman. But the way she interacts that with really kind of awkward physical gestures and like poses or the kind of slouch or stances that she takes. For me, it's a really interesting presentation. The growing pains of like being like a sexy tomboy or something like that. Being sexually appealing while still like picking at like scabs in the notch between your elbow.
Arrête. Lâche-moi.
Qui a vu ma tire?
Ouais, j'ai vu.
Le but de caca. J'arrive pleine lucarne, mais du gros caca. Hé!
Qu'est-ce qu'il y a? Bah rien, j'ai mis une main à sa sœur.
C'est quoi?
Oh, she's mad.
Arrête, Justine, arrête là, c'est bon. C'est bon, tu l'as tué là, c'est bon, arrête, Justine.
Et toi, arrête de m'appeler Justine. Ouais, mais t'es con aussi.
Simultaneously angry that she's being undergoing this change and being sexually identified, but also being angry that it's not being recognized fast enough or in the way that she wants by her peers. I love the response for the guys that they call everything a whore, regardless of what the circumstances are. And also the frayed, but also strong soroorial bond that the two have. Salope! Putain!
Tu vas me dire ce qui se passe?
Well, his relationship with you's changed because he's attracted to you now. Yeah, there you go. It's really, really fun to see these kind of archetypes or these
T'étais moche, t'es plus moche, je comprends plus rien.
these fascinations
Bah, moi, je
made
comprends,
so
C'est un peu, mais...
obvious, so extreme in this kind of these earlier efforts.
Et puis me regarde pas comme ça, c'était pas un truc de ouf. Hein.
Touche. Ça fait bizarre, hein.
C'est quoi ce truc?
It's a
Je
female
sais pas,
body.
c'est comme ça partout maintenant.
Et ça te fait mal? Refais voir.
Yo, this my pussy though. I'm sorry if you feel like I talked over this entire thing. If you did, just watch the movie. Just watch it over again for yourself and see how you feel. This is just all the stuff that's coming up in my head while I'm watching this. Really, really different. Really, really different take from Celine Sciamma. in terms of the lens in which Julia Ducournau views her own characters, she really sees them as like superheroes or like rock stars, like this kind of beautiful barbarism to them. It's a really interesting take. That was great. I'm surprised. I wasn't expecting this kind of look. This kind of look from Ducournau on her first outing. In a way, I find this was really good. A really good first effort. I can see why people like kind of gleaned onto her after this, because this is really attractive debut. In a way, I want to say I think this is really instructive as a short, because in terms of production design, in terms of stylistic choices, lighting choices, set locations, stuff like that, this really wasn't a bombastic story. This wasn't like wowing you with its visual elements, with its like, oh wow, Julia Ducournau is is creating such awesome imagery, or such or such unbelievable circumstances, or stuff like that. This is really for the most part a kind of grounded or domestic drama with like some horror or surreal elements just like painted onto it. And what it says to me is that, especially in your early efforts, if you're a filmmaker or you're an artist, if you want to attract attention, your appeal isn't really going to be in being a technical wizard or having these like perfect production elements to your movie. Although I'm sure there's a lot of secret technique that went into the making of this movie, and a lot of effort in learning the tricks of filmmaking that we're not seeing we're not seeing the full effect of. But so yeah, you don't have to be like a total wizard in your outings. But what I'm seeing in this that would be appealing to a movie-going audience, to other directors, to writers, actors, especially to producers, is that there is a clarity and intensity of voice. Like, you really already get a sense of Julia Ducournau's fixations, her interests, her fears, and her passions in this early venture. It's really it's really obvious and attractive, seductive, or magnetic, seeing what her vision is and falling into her vision. Yeah, I really like this. In some ways, like, I watched David Cronenberg's debut feature Crimes of the Future, and in some ways this kind of follows a similar career journey as that. Like, that movie also had like severe technical limitations and had a kind of very loose, weird plot to it, but in it you could kind of already see aspects of Cronenberg's fixations, a fascination with the future, of dystopia, of the way that humans interact with systems of power, of how their bodies interact with things like medication, with technology, with the future, with futurism. You definitely see, what's the term, like if Tony Stark is a optimistic futurist, if he sees like the benefit and intrigue of what technology and advancement can bring in the future, then Cronenberg definitely sees is like a future cynic, or is it definitely like a cynical futurist, or paranoid or schizoid futurist, where he sees systems of power splintering and fracturing the human psyche if we continue down our current path. And so for this, it was really exciting to see Julia Ducournau's ideas of how the kind of the body is like a mediator or a translator of things that are happening inside the head with the outside world. How the body interprets things that are locked up inside of the mind and really struggles to communicate that to the outside, and how the outside communicates something to the body, and the body struggles through transformation and through change to communicate that to the mind. Really interesting. And really interesting to see how much she like thinks that her protagonist is a badass. Like, yeah, Deaf girl, deaf. All right, let's move on to our third one. The Grass Labyrinth. Let me look up. Let me look some stuff up about this. Just some bare bones. This is directed by Shuji Terayama, and who is it recommended to me by? This came from El Fambino. Okay, so thank you, El Fambino. If I end up hating this, then I will retract my thank you. Okay, we got the Obayashi score. Sounds exactly the same as Emotion. Yeah, definitely getting Emotion vibes from this. When was this? But the kind of Japanese new wave style or approach, integrating elements of French new wave of kind of cutting illogically or cutting emotionally as opposed to logically. Oh, Oharu. Story of Oharu? Is that something we're going for?
おかしなことによ手まり歌の歌詞を知らねえかってなった
なんつったのあんた。
歌詞だよ歌詞このクソい探した時によ人の女房捕まえてな
お春にやろうと買ってきた。お
I
春
haven't
のどこ
seen
で
the
死ん
story
だ
of
のか死
Oharu.
があったことは記憶しているんですが、その先は節ばかりでどうしても文句が分かりません。母が幼なじみとよく歌っていたというのですが。
なんでお母さんにお聞きになぞい。
母はもういないんです。親里へ帰って
Yeah,
死
you
んだ
can
そう
definitely
です。
see the kind of
死にたかや。
tradition that carries from Japanese new wave to like a filmmaker that people would recognize, like Hideaki Anno, the creator of Neon Genesis Evangelion, where story kind of streams into travels from stream of consciousness into memories, into images, into abstractions, and back again, pretty effortlessly without a lot of bridging gaps.
そしたらその中にあんたの探しといでた。
はい。手まり歌の歌詞などは一つもありませんでした。
せっかくじゃけどね、疎外な歌詞を聞かれてもわしゃ知らせんのに。
He's trying to figure out a lullaby that his mother used to sing to him.
Akira また何か考え事をしていましたね。お前は私の目の前にいても時々いなくなる。私の前に抜け殻を置いてどこか遠いところへ旅へ出て行ってしまうよ。
Yeah, Japanese New Wave is such an interesting moment in experimentation. Experimenting with how to edit, definitely, how to kind of string together meaning through a sometimes non sequitur array of images, how image interacts with sound and sound design, whether or not you keep things natural or you like in that previous sequence, are able to shut out audio and infuse something that's kind of impressionistic, or that's an indication of the character's like thoughts or their interior emotional world. Definitely getting the impression that this boy has had a very fraught, extreme, potent relationship with geishas.
お帰りなさいませ。
Okay, so he's playing house with.
お風呂になさいます？それともご飯食べて。
Is it a ghost? Is it a crazy woman? Already we're just setting up a kind of interesting relationship this character has with hair. This geisha, this mysterious geisha pulling the chopstick from her hair, and her hair being so frayed and disarray and so outgrown and feral. And we kind of see in him and this like feeling of repression, his shaved head. As well as an image previously of a strand of hair being chopped off. I hope this actor was safe. I hope this like teenage actor felt safe in these conditions. I mean, like, I'm sure he like loved it or whatever, but you can like love it or whatever and still perhaps not feel safe. Your body can have a reaction that your mind may not fully understand. Okay, so does he associate this lullaby not with his mother, but with this mysterious geisha? And something definitely to look over again in terms of the new wave elements, the alienating or strange, is the production design elements, set decoration, how things get slightly strange or surreal with the kind of adornments, the things that she has on the walls in that little hut. Or this red this red silken roll going out to the sea. And the red, I guess, also connecting to her mom, because her mom was, spindling a red dress. And now her mom is wearing the geisha makeup. And his mom, sorry. Sephiroth! Sephiroth!
母さんほら母さん見てよ母さん箱かな
Filmmakers do love themselves their Freud, though.
パンツ母さん隣の土蔵の中の女の人誰
お前千代女に会ったのかあんな女の相手になってはいけませんよ
Too late for that.
あれは色気違いどこを待ってる間に頭がおかしくなってしまったんですよ
Hey, great expectations.
昔からこの土地では手に持った鏡に前世から定められた縁の人の姿が見えると言われているのですでもあの女にはそれが映らなかった縁の人を1年待ち2年経ち3年経ってとうとう頭がおかしくなって
I wonder if this image of hair is also connecting to the fabric, the thread of the wheel.
時々月の美しい夜などには男を探しに外へ出てくる
もしまた外へ出て僕を連れて行こうとしたらどうする
大丈夫お前にはお母さんがついていますからね
Alright. Without knowing it, his mother has forever imprinted upon his mind an association with his own sexuality with her. Cool. I don't know how many Japanese New Wave films I've concretely covered on this channel yet. Definitely Funeral Parade of Roses And on my Patreon, I think I have one for emotion.
新しい母親っててお前不甲斐なもんがど
But
こ
I
にある
watched
と思う
another
よ
one for the channel, Double Suicide.
この世の
I hope
中に
I'll
は
have
ね
a video out on that
新しい
someday.
もんなんか何もありゃせん
Because it's really
長いこと
interesting,
人
like
が忘れとったもんが
aesthetic
時
or
々目を
design
覚ます
choices.
それだけのことよ
お願いです。教えてください。私はなぜ手まり歌の文句などに取りつかれてしまったんでしょう。なぜこうして旅を続けなきゃいけないんでしょうか。
It's interesting making the present sepia tone. I guess
多分もう一人の母がいて。
instead of conjuring up an image of memory, it's conjuring up a feeling of desaturation. That kind of some sort of meaning or fulfillment in his life has been sucked out.
鳥の飛んどる空の広さを見ようとしとらんや
Yeah, continuing on with the imagery of hair.
Akira! Akira!
Yeah, this is how you create some. This is how you engrave some fetishes in your son's mind. So often, the use of a bell in Japanese media is used as like a reset button. I assume it has some sort of religious connotation to it, but I'd like to know where it comes from. What's this kind of cultural basis?
大丈夫。こうしていてもあの気違い女が寄りつかないようにおまじないをしていってあげますよ。
This is interesting. In an effort to kind of prevent this woman from approaching him, she's writing magic words on his face. But to a certain degree, you can almost feel this embedding behavior into him, as though the process of having his face painted identifies him with these women in his life, who's like the first image he sees of them is their painted faces. This is in a way maybe like an interesting bridging of a gap of a gender performance, that there are two ways that people manifest these two genders manifest, like the imagery or the paint on their bodies. On one side, the makeup of the woman, and on the other side, the words, the letterings, or tattooing of the men. Also an element of Japanese New Wave that is present in Double Suicide is the idea of a kind of Greek chorus, a commenting tribe that sees the events and in some way and is like powerless to affect it, can only comment on it. Although Double Suicide is nebulous as to whether or not they're powerless in affecting the story, because they're like Bunraku puppeteers and they are in effect actually manipulating the story. And him being tied to the tree like a maiden. Like, whoever Perseus saves from the sea beast? It's an intense, intense red. Red like the kimono of Chiyojo. Red like the fabric on his mother's loom. Grass Labyrinth. I wonder what the meaning of that is. You can't tell with Japanese stuff, man, because they named their stuff after poems and stuff. You had to be there, sort of thing.
Oh,
God. Yeah, our boy does not have the greatest relationship with women's bodies. If it ain't Freudian, I don't know what is. Oh, come on. How Freudian can you get? If it had been an eel, that would have been even better. He's like, I don't like it, but a part of me likes it. Because it's also very comfortable. It's very familiar. Hate the food here in such small portions. When you live with like a restrictive, repressing parent, I guess you start putting your lips on foreign objects just to feel something. The women in this movie are so smooth. I know I'm watching it on SD, but like, they're so smooth. What the heck? Yeah, it'd be impossible for me to break down each individual kind of design decision in this tradition of Japanese New Wave and how it breaks from tradition. How it breaks from convention, from like the Shohiku movies of the 50s and early 60s, but and in some ways how it reinforces older traditions of cinema and Japanese cinema. But for now, just vibe with it. It may feel uncomfortable, but just see if that you find that discomfort enjoyable. There's this weird dynamic with the representation of sex workers in media that they always seem to be like the ones that wield power and like can humiliate you and emasculate you. It's very far from the reality, I think. Especially historical sex workers, like, probably don't experience as much power as they're interpreted to have in film.
違う文句だ歌詞を知りたいんだどうだったかな深夜の寺へ来たらばおぼたん芍薬ゆりの花文句はさっきと違うけど節は同じみたいですねだって違う文句聞きたいんだろ、それで今私が作ったのさ僕が知りたいのはさっきの続きなんです。あの歌の続きなんです。困ったね。
Madonna whore.
どうだったかな。出てこないよ。ね、頼みますよ。なんとか思い出してみてください。お願いします。歌なんかいいじゃないか。
It is like I do like it as kind of like overlaying theming that he's trying to like he's in pursuit of this kind of feminine secret, this lullaby, that this knowledge that the women in his life seem to possess, but are reluctant to share with him. That kind of story working in tandem with his own sexual awakening and his own interests in women. And his own fear in women simultaneously developing. Smooth women and striated men. What more could you want? Yeah, that's freaky. That's freaky. I love it, but that's freaky. Someday I'd love to just do a survey of automatons in film, because we think of automatons like robots and androids and stuff, but there's like a weird, vast historical tradition of automatons, especially in the Middle East, what we might picture as dolls or even clocks to a certain degree, mechanical structures that are designed to mimic human features and living features. For a great example of that, of automaton in films, you should watch The Thief of Baghdad, a quarter production from the 40s that was directed in part by Michael Powell of Powell and Pressburger. Beautiful, frightening, evocative automatons in that movie. They really do a great job of portraying like the curves of a woman through her through her the various women's movements, through their I don't know what it's called when you have like through their posture. Like, he is incredibly erect, angular, kind of turgid male form, and they are all sinewy and soft and pliable and supple. Did he just say Kazan? He's looking for his mom again? It's fucked up, man. I don't even know if it's like an intentional design choice of this movie, but it's kind of like utilizing the visual grammar or the cultural grammar we already have for these two genders. Here's hoping this is a trans narrative, that he's actually discovering his own interior femininity. He has the red thread. He can't be trusted. He's hiding something.
あれは小海石よりましての、小満は華奢午後石ぐらいから大金がお供え持ちぐらいまであろうか。このでけん方が手でさすり寄ると、あやもうすぐにあやができるじゃのよりまして。My
sincere hope is that he touches it and he becomes pregnant.
いそしゅうなってしもてからに、あの石を並べて店で売りよるばあさんがおるかともや。He
gives birth to a child, and in doing so, learns the song that he was searching for by singing it to them. I never fully understood this. I guess I need to be more adventurous in my positioning, but I never understood having your legs, like, up over. Like, isn't your dick just pointing down then? That Baldo. Whoa! Yeah, you get hit that with that pregnancy stone, you're gonna end up like John and Kate plus 8. We about to have sympathy for Mr. Frenchens? Is that what we're going to? Is our man's about to get his Achilles tendon slit? This, though, is the feeling, though, of pursuing the eternal mystery of the opposite sex. It is drowning in a river that you're attempting to ford. Sorry, bud. Oh, it's a watermelon. I didn't even think of that. Yokozuna! That, her, I forget what it's called, but that's really bad. It's named after a tree. Yokozuna is, like, based on trees, I believe. Alright, we're kind of getting more of the elements that I'm sure would be is present in like Nobuhiko Obayashi's house. Such poor sword discipline. I like this image. This is like hardcore Tetsuo. Not Tetsuo the Iron Man, but Tetsuo in Akira. Please don't fall on your sword. I didn't even really think about this, but it is funny how he kind of recedes historically as he grows older. Like the segments where he's a full adult seem to draw back to like a medieval or at least pre Edo, pre westernization era of Japan. And I just noticed that because of his mawashi, his traditional Japanese undergarment.
Akira かい? ほら、お前をもう一度妊娠してやったんだよ。
Another dick tent. This ending's beginnings. You hate to see a mom smiling at a funeral. Big ass fear. A fear that is also relayed in Funeral Parade of Roses. The kind of fear of seeing your mother smile and having like a cruel smile. The fear of ridicule from your mother.
「大空の雲をあてにどことなく海があれば渡り山があれば越し国々を歩きますのもせんずるところある一つの意味を探しいいえどうかわけは聞かないでください私はその手まり歌の忘れた文句を今一度だけ聞きたいと思いこうして旅から旅へ
Maybe not of being a father, but of having children. Interesting. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what that's about, honestly. Like conjecture-wise, I think it's about fears of having children, and specifically kind of fear and desire of emasculation. You don't want to be emasculated, but you also crave that kind of spiritual castration because you're afraid of having children. So I'm going to be proven out wrong when I read up on this, but I just want to offer up what my sense was before getting into it. That the fear of having children isn't like a fear of like fatherhood or of like taking care of the kid or whatever, but kind of like a fear of linealogy, of continuity. I think like he has taken these lessons from his mother, and there have been more bad lessons than good. There is like, I feel like there's a sense of preservation or of a nurture in the lullaby, and he's constantly seeking that realm of comfort, of stability, but it constantly eludes him. And what is left behind, more so than that nurturing kind of aspect in his relationship with his mother, is the incredibly fraught and the incredibly damaged and accusatory and suspicious and paranoid, and yeah, the image of his mother tying him up and painting him with magic words, or the image of his mother cutting the fish's head off. He has a lot of kind of fears surrounding his own virility, but also in continuing on that lineage of hostility and paranoia and pain that his mother has imbued on him. So he like enjoys that pain, but he wants to like end the bloodline of that pain. So let's prove me wrong. This is apparently supposed to be it packaged in a French movie collection called Private Collections, and I don't know this other director, but it was supposed to be packaged with Just Jakin and Walerian Borowitz, who is a director that I've been doing preliminary work on, and whose work I will definitely try and cover on this channel later. But if I don't end up doing it, and you're interested in kind of 70s avant-garde pornography adjacent kind of stuff, check out Valerian Borowitz. Yeah. This was really interesting to kind of take as a refresher on Japanese new wave and kind of the aesthetics of Japanese new wave. So while I don't really have too solid an idea of what the movie itself is about, it was really kind of refreshing in revisiting these kind of tropes and these kind of ideas, because I've been definitely meaning to get into exploring Japanese new wave on this channel a little bit more, and I'm excited to do so, but nervous because there is such a large history to it, and I want to curate the right selections. So I can tell you from what I'm planning out, at least, that I definitely want to explore the works of Nagisa Oshima, and that is in tying into doing more movies in the late 60s and 70s that kind of focus on sex and the human body and nudity and all the things that are bad for YouTube as like the forefront of narrative and as the body politic of film during that time, and as the kind of culture of that decade, like an artistic consciousness spread worldwide that was obsessed with seeing sex portrayed in film and portrayed in extremely graphic fashion. I should have guessed. Apparently, the director Shuji Terayama was ill during his lifetime. He had nephrotic syndrome. In some ways, this felt like a movie made by somebody who's lived with sickness or disability. Oh, he's the director of Throw Away Your Books, Rally on the Streets. Oh, okay. I tried checking that out for this channel, actually. I did. I really did. Whoever left me that comment months and months ago, I did check out Throw Away Your Books, Rally on the Streets. I didn't think it was a very good fit for me exploring or reacting to on this channel specifically. But that is also an interesting project, and you should check that out if Japanese New Wave seems like something that might appeal to your senses. My dude died of cirrhosis at 47. Jesus Christ. Yeah, that was the Grass Labyrinth. I thought of a lot of interesting things to take away from it, and if you're unfamiliar with Japanese New Wave, like really as good an entry as any into the movement, like without like historical knowledge or historical context, really any entryway, so long as it's weird and so long as it's sexy and so long as it's appealing, whatever gateway drug you need. Let me know in the comments down below if you've seen the Glass Labyrinth. I also assume you haven't. If you've seen other Japanese New Wave stuff, if you have recommendations for Japanese New Wave movies, I'd love to hear them out. Leave a comment down below. Leave a like, please. And subscribe if you haven't already, because if you like this kind of stuff, really, truly, who else is doing it? And yeah, until next time, keep watching good movies. That's been 3 shorts.